Well, this has to be one of my favorite metaphors about community coming from Paul. This image of the community as a body. We find it here in Romans 12. He also uses it when writing to the Corinthians. The idea is the same in both passages. Every part of the body has a purpose. And the one that you are most aware of may not be the most vital, at least not for this time and this place. Well, I can't help but wonder, is there any better metaphor for what we as a society are living in these COVID times? For all the years that I've been paying attention to the news, there has been a primary focus on the stock market. We might get a quick mention of the quarterly report on unemployment numbers, but the metric we use to determine whether our economic body is strong or not is the stock market. If the stockholders are making money, the economy is said to be strong. If those whose business is buying and selling to increase their wealth, if those folk are not confident enough to keep buying, then we worry that the economy is in trouble. It is too often our single focus on that particular body. It's where we tend to put most of our attention. And therefore, those who work in that realm make up one of the groups of people to whom we have given the most resources, the most respect, the most power. And then we hit a global pandemic. And we ran out of toilet paper. And we were asked to shelter in place, so there wasn't enough milk on the shelves, but dairy farmers in some parts of the country were dumping excess milk. In fact, all of those food distribution systems that had been built for efficiency and maximum profit were off somehow. We didn't need food packaged to go to schools and restaurants and corporate cafeterias. We needed it to be on the shelves of the grocery store. And seemingly in an instant, there were products we had once thought absolutely vital in the scheme of things that we really didn't need. But we did need masks and sanitizer and personal protective equipment and ventilators. And in the midst of it all, we determined who should stay home in order to slow the spread of the virus, and by contrast, whose work was deemed essential to our survival during these stressful times. To use Paul's words, we had previously conformed our minds to the world. We had named fame and fashion and entertainment and wealth and influence as the most important parts of the body that is American culture. We have given those who work in those fields the greatest attention and honor and financial compensation. And we, like so many other cultures before us, had overlooked the way our disproportionate honoring of one part of the body was hurting the others. We glorified wealth accumulation without asking who or how many had to lose in order for one person to gain that much. We renamed greed, calling it ambition, instead, to justify our honoring of wealth accumulation. We also renamed struggle and oppression, calling them laziness, to justify allowing that oppression to continue. Now, in the light of this virus, the very people that we had called lazy and lacking in ambition were those we needed the most. Now, I have to confess my own biases here, because it is at this point that I really want to say that we should just turn the tables. Do away with all of those folk that we didn't call essential folk. Let them feel what it was like to live without honor, to be treated as expendable, to be constantly labeled as useless to the body. This little petty part of me wants people to know what they have, either intentionally or not, been imposing on other people. But darn that Paul. That's not what he's asking of the Romans. Hear his words again. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Do not claim to be wiser than you are. And do not repay evil for evil, but take thought for what is noble in the sight of all. If it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. If I choose a place of judgment, if I assume that my view is the right view of things, if I wish for vengeance, I too have chosen to conform to the world's understanding, and I then have forsaken the one who spoke from the cross, saying, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." If I declare myself to be in the right, I miss the view from the other side of the problem, is seen as essential as those truckers and stock persons and in-store shoppers and cashiers and delivery people are. Those who, though perhaps working from home, also had to make and implement decisions quickly and efficiently. We needed the person at the helm of the ship to know when to turn production around and how fast it could be turned without tanking the whole operation. People who could move in a moment because they understood the whole thing, not just the little piece that they were assigned to do. We needed people with knowledge about how money moves through our economy, so the right dollars could get to the right people at the right time. And we also needed people who had some money to redirect. Money to put up plexiglass shields for cashiers and purchase masks to keep production line workers safe. We need scientists who are working on a vaccine. And we also need production and supply specialists if we are ever going to find the raw materials needed to be able to make and distribute that vaccine as efficiently as possible when we finally have just the right formula. We need the whole body working together in harmony. We need every skill and every viewpoint and every intellect and every creative thought. We need to once again pull ourselves together as one community with deep, abiding love and respect for every person, and with an understanding of how the body that is humanity fits into the body that is creation. Listen to Paul. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptably to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. God has created us to be in this world and placed us in this world. We live in this world and we love in this world. We laugh and cry and celebrate and mourn. We play and work and pray in this world. But do not be conformed to this world. We come together each week to open ourselves to a better way, and there are communities all around the world that are doing the same in many different ways. We come together to ponder the path of our spiritual ancestors, to allow their stories of their lives and the wisdom of their words to transform and renew our minds, so that we might truly discern what is the will of God for us in this time and in this place. We come together to build upon their wisdom and then seek God's guidance, so that we might become the example for the next generation to build upon. Somewhere between punishing those who have been the oppressors and allowing the current standards of oppression to continue, there is a better way for everyone. Somewhere between honoring only frontline workers and honoring only managers and owners, there is a better way for everyone. So we can continue to gather. We continue to listen for God's guidance. We continue to learn from our ancestors, both from their mistakes and from their wisdom. And most importantly, we continue to follow in the footsteps of Jesus Christ, trusting that the Spirit will lead us to wholeness of body and spirit, and then lead us out into the world to be healers of the whole body of creation. May it be so. Amen.